let's go to the next thing that I want to show you. Oh, color fix. Let's do this one. All right, so this is, I got a series of the same, a series of pictures. Now these pictures are the same model. This beautiful, beautiful woman. She's in different poses. These were all shot at the same time. One of them was shot, with a different angle, a different camera. But what we want to do is we want to try to get all the pictures to match color wise once we get the first one corrected. So we get the first one corrected to what we want, get the balance of color the way we want, and the vibrancy and the hue saturation and all the other stuff. Once we get that done, we want to take what we've created, make it all into one layer, and then we want to use that one layer with all the correction on it to correct the other pictures, without having to remember what we did. So that's the goal. So we start off with the first picture that we want to use. Doesn't matter which one of them. I want to use Color Fix 4 this time because I feel like it. And then what we're going to do is whatever techniques that you wish to use to correct this color and to balance this color out. So I'm going to do an adjustment layer. I'm going to first do a levels adjustment. And again, you don't have to do this way. It's just this is what I'm going to do. To make it a little more fun, I'm going to use the eyedroppers. I didn't set those highlight and shadow points like I showed you before, but without doing that, can I still try to make this work? Well, yeah. You just use your eyedropper. If you have your info panel open, all right, all you're doing is looking for that K value, and you're just finding, once you click onto the highlight eyedropper, find the brightest spot in the picture. If you don't want to try to find that K value and see what that K value gives you, all right, if you don't care about that, then just find a spot in the picture that you feel is supposed to be the brightest spot based on your subject, though. So that would be her. So either in this case, it would be either her hair or on the dress down towards the bottom there, that gold piece down there on the bottom. This dress is friggin' awesome, but it looks like her hair, maybe the clutch that she's holding. No, I got like a 20 there by the hair area. So I'll use the hair as the brightest spot in the picture. Darkest spot in the picture, again, I'm looking at her skin tone, which is absolutely beautiful. And I get 90 numbers in different spots. So I'll use that as that dark tone area. So now this gives me the quote unquote balance. Now, if it's not suitable to what you need, that is fine too. You can find another spot as your dark area, or another spot as your bright area. You can even find a middle tone. If you feel like something is more of a mid-tone color, you can use that as the mid-tone color. It's not Nothing is ever set in stone that you have to do it this particular way. It's just a matter of what your starting point is. Now, here's another way of doing this, of doing something similar, using the same levels adjustment. I want to go to the palette options button up here. There are some auto options that you can go after. They're not the best thing to do all the time, but there's a button here that's called auto, that if you click on it, it automatically adjusts based on the options that you set here. So I would always go to the panel options button, the little hamburger in the top right corner, go under auto options and see what's here in these options before I click on that auto button. And all of these have their own enhancements, and you can click on these little algorithms and you'd be able to see what the result would be on that picture that you have. Um, the enhanced brightness contrast is going to be your biggest adjustment that you'll see. But this fine light and dark colors, this one is kind of cool because you can actually set what you want your shadow, your middle tone, and highlight number to value to be. All right. So this is a little more appealing sometimes. You can go and set the shadow value, and you could put in the actual number that you want to be your darkest color. So if you don't want it to be like, zero, like I usually go with the CMYK value there. Um, and you can create what is called a rich black color, which the rich black color is, um, and numbers vary depending on who you talk to. It's like about 25% of the cyan, magenta, and yellow, and somewhere between 90 and 95% of the black. All right. That doesn't give you complete black. It's almost like a dark grayish brown color that you'll end up getting. That's the rich black color in print, in the printing world. Um, that is usually the formula, but that's not always the formula. Every print shop has their own formula for that. People who do color correction, a lot of times they try to figure out what the formula is that works for them. You don't have to do the 25%. It could be 10% to 30%, anywhere in that range. It could be 5% for them, all that matters. It's just a little bit of the cyan, magenta, and yellow together in the same value number. And then the K value is usually going to be in the high 90%. It doesn't have to be all the way to 100% if you don't want it to be. But obviously, the higher that value, that K value, the darker it's going to tend to be. And that's going to set what you want to be as your black point. For me, I usually do about 95%. So 25% for cyan, magenta, and yellow. The K value is going to be at 95%. That is my darkest value, my dark shadow. The highlight number, again, I don't want to do all zeros. Usually with that is going to be like 2% for the cyan, magenta, and yellow. And then the K value is going to be either the same 2% or it could be at 0 or 1%, if you wanted to get it as low as possible. You can do 1% for all of them for all that matters. That could work too. But all you're just trying to do is just turn down, take the white value, and you're not trying to get complete white. You want to get some type of grayish white, kind of very, very light gray kind of color that you're going for. That'll be your white point. And your midtones, that's where your 50% comes into play, where you could do 50% for all of these highlight, middle tone, and shadow. Whoops. Or if you want to do a little bit of math to try to find out between the two values that you set for the highlight and shadow, if you didn't set the, and they're not exactly at 0 100%. They're at, 2% to nine. I did like 2% to 95% for the black. So then the 50% wouldn't be at 50 for the middle tone. It'd be a little bit, further up or down. So you can put those numbers in for the mid-tone if you want to, but the mid-tone is not as important, but you could set that mid-tone value as well. So that way you set your highlight, your middle tone, and your shadow value as you want. You can set that up as a default. So every time you hit the auto button, in your levels, it automatically does this that you set up in the options. Does this work all the time for every picture? No, but it's a good starting point, to kind of get everything enhanced the way you want. Enhanced brightness contrast, that works just as well. I kind of like that better most of the time because I get a better result from it. And again, I can save that as my default. So every time from this point forward, whenever I hit auto, it's going to automatically do that adjustment. So again, just there's so many different ways in here in which to get what you want done, but it's a starting point. That auto is a starting point. Using the eyedroppers to set that highlight and shadow point. That's a starting point. That's where you start with, and then you make further adjustments from there, to get the adjustment the way you want it to be. So that's my levels adjustment. Yeah, I like that. I don't want to go into there's no real color cast issue, so to speak, going on here, that I can't get corrected by something else. So let's go to the something else. Let me go to the half and half circle. Normally I would go after the hue saturation now, or maybe even color balance, but I just want to show you some of these other ones to kind of give you an idea of what other things you can do. Vibrance. Vibrance is kind of like your saturation value only, where you can adjust for the saturation value to increase or decrease it, for just adjusting for the saturation value of the picture. But vibrance is a whole nother animal that is kind of fun. It's doing the same thing with the saturation, but it's a little more, has a little more subtlety to it. So it's not so highly saturated. Or you could tone down the saturation so it's not so, highly saturated. Now, you could play around with this where you can turn the vibrance down and the saturation up, or vice versa, and you can get a different kind of balance of color or saturation of color than you had before. That could look kind of appealing. And again, you can turn the, you know, eyeball on and off so that way you could see the adjustments you do and you could see the subtleties that come about with it. If you remember that gamut warning where I went to view and clicked on gamut warning, where you get the gray splotches all over the place, that vibrance adjustment can kind of help turn that, oversaturation down, if that is an issue um, that you need to worry about. So that way, instead of doing hue saturation all the time, you could just do vibrance. That takes care of that saturation over that oversaturation or undersaturation that you may be running into on your picture. Another adjustment layer that we can go after that I just want to show you how they work. Channel mixer. This one's weird and fun at the same time. What the channel mixer does is that it allows you to go to the individual color channels, red, green, and blue, and you can add and take away red, green, and blue value from that particular channel to change the color of the picture. A lot of times, the results are very different color adjustments that you're not trying to get it to the exact color that was there. You're trying to change it, but you're changing it into some type of coloration kind of effect. It's kind of like colorizing the picture. If you look at your parents or grandparents' old pictures, old photos in the photo album, where the film itself, the film stock, the chemicals that make up that film is starting to degrade a little bit, you get this kind of tinting effect that happens to the pictures, and that's kind of what happens with this. Um, that's the best way I can describe it. That you can create some very almost vintage looking pictures using this little technique here. It's kind of fun to play with. Now, that's the channel mixer. I just want to show you how that one works. Another one that works pretty good, pretty well is this color lookup. I really like this one. What this does is that it creates color grading. So if you know what LUTs are, LUTs, LUTs, they're lookup tables. Lookup tables are basically how can I say it where it makes sense? Lookup tables are the mapping of colors. If you know what a gradient is, it's a mapping of color gradients across the picture. So across the shadows, middle tones, and highlights, you can get a different color mapping applied by just picking from these different lookup tables. Now, there are some that are pre-made that can create a particular mood, like moonlight here makes this look like this was shot in the moonlight. Night from day. You got a couple of different ones that are here that you can get that are here that you can play with that give you just a different, kind of vibe or look or mood. And some of them are just a coloring effect where it does just gives you a particular colored effect that happens across the picture. Some of them are based on cameras, so the particular camera build and will give you certain added effects that you can play with along with it. And some of these can look kind of cool because it adjusts for the color that you didn't even think of was there. It's just kind of neat and easy. And then some of them are there's other different types. Now, you also have the ability to load your own. So besides the default ones that are here, at the top of the list, it says load 3D LUTs. That's up there at the top of the list there. So you know that this exists. There is a folder in the what I had you download, this purple 11 free LUTs pack. You got to do this one at a time, but these are the other LUTs that I have loaded on mine that you can bring these in, and you got to bring them in one at a time, unfortunately. So what you would have to do is say, load the LUTs, go and find that folder, find the one that you want to add in, and you add that one, and it applies it immediately. And then you could see what it looks like. If you don't like that one, then you can go load another one and another one and another one till you get them all loaded. There's no way to load them all at one time, unfortunately, because it would be so much easier if you could load them all at once and then just have them there in the list. But it doesn't, it's not that nice to you. So let's go to lectures. I just want to show you how this process works. In here, color correct folder, go to purple 11, find one of these, and it will load it, and it will apply it when it's done loading, so you can see if you like it or not. You'll have your different options that they'll give you for, if there's any particular options to work with, and that way you can load that particular lookup table on. With these lookup tables, they're not always, some of them are real nice. Some of the more professional ones, quote unquote professional ones that you probably have to pay for, get real good with the application of them. Most people that work as editors for videos and movies, they use these lookup tables to create that mood of that final cut. But you can use them here, and which makes them kind of fun. You can also, because this is an adjustment layer, blend modes and opacity, settings that you can apply to try to get the resulting effect and see what it does for what you have, to see how much of an effect that you get out of what you're doing. Hmm. So that way you can, you know, play around with it, see what you get, and and adjust. Everything is going to be adjusted based on what you set up. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going through and looking at these different adjustment layers that I used. And I'm just trying to see what blend modes, if I pick from a particular blend mode, what happens if I pick that blend mode, what happens to the picture? If it's something that I like, is it something that looks weird and goofy? What happens? Also, if I change the opacity, what happens? Do I make something that looks kind of cool? Also, because you have that layer mask, what if I see if I can do this real quick? Let's see if select and subject, if I end up getting her selected and address of her selected, it's smart enough to pick that up. Yes, it did. I'm going to do something real quick with the channel mixer layer. I'm going to paint with my paintbrush, paint with black over top of her on that adjustment layer. Yep. So I can take that adjustment away from her, and it's applied everywhere else, but just not applied on her. So I made the brush super big so it's easy and fast to do this. Um, so now this channel mixer that I got set to saturation, it's applied to everything else, but it's just not applied onto her. Now, why am I doing that? I don't know. I just want to see what that does and see if I change the blend mode again to something else, see what's happening. If I change it to that, that's kind of cool. So that way it just isolated her real easily. And then I can play with these different blend modes and see what one may work better for this image here. I'm not gonna be doing this forever, and I don't have forever, so I'm gonna stop playing with this Let's put this back to where it was. I think I had it on saturation, and I had it not up so high. That's up too high. I want to turn it down some. That looks a little bit better. That's for just the channel mixer. The color lookup, I can do the same thing, except I can reverse the selection and paint with black across this. So the color lookup effect is just being applied to her and not being applied to the rest of the picture. And why? Because I want to. I mean, there's no other reason than this is the things that I want to do. Now that I got that done, I'm going to stop that and I'm going to do the next thing, which is taking all of these layers and merging them into one without merging. So merging and flattening is taking everything that I've done and merging it all together into this one background layer. Problem with that is that I don't have these adjustments to come back to go further with this. And again, if I save and close this file, I'm stuck with what I got left. There is a way to kind of make everything merge together into a new layer. So basically, you're merging everything into a brand new layer. So the way it works is that you either select everything together like I just did. I just clicked on one layer and then I held down the shift key and clicked on to the other layers, select them all together as a group, or just make sure all the layers that you want to merge together are all visible. You know, if there's a layer that you didn't want to merge into this process, you would just hide it, for the moment, or just hide it, period. But I usually like to do the whole selecting of all the layers process with this. Now, panel options button. I click onto the panel options button, which is the little hamburger up there in the top right corner. There is merge layers and merge visible. So merge layers will take the layers that I got selected, merge them together. But I'm going to hold down the Alt key or your Option key first before I click. So before I click on it, I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key and click on Merge Layers. Keep that button held down until you see a new layer pop in. Hold on. Something weird just happened. Hold on. That is not right. Hold on, because something is not working like it's supposed to, and I know it's supposed to be holding down Option and go to the layers, go to the layers panel, find. Huh, interesting. If the background layer is selected with everything else, you'll see the merge layers, merge visible, flatten image. Hold down Option and click on merge layers. It doesn't do it. It merges it into the background layer, but it keeps the other layers intact, but it merges all the adjustment into the background layer. If I don't have the background layer selected, and then when I go to the palette options button, I only get merge visible, but if I hold down Option and click on merge visible, it does what I want it to do, where it makes a new layer with all these adjustments and everything in the background layer all merged together into one. That's a change. That is new. Don't know why it did that. Because it used to be that I could select all the layers, like I did, go to the merge layers and hold down the Alt key and merge all those layers together without it being, and it just merged it into a brand new layer, like layer one. It did not do that. So I had to do the merge visible. So just select you don't even have to select all the layers. Just click on a layer, go to the palette options button, hold down the option key and click merge visible, and that'll merge all the visible layers together into one new layer. So this is the one that I want to do the match to. So I'm going to call this match. All right. Now, all of this on this match layer is all the adjustments that I did to this picture overall. Now, the reason why I'm making this layer is for the next thing that I need to do. I'm going to open up one of those other pictures that we had, one of those other color fix pictures. Like this one here, this first one. And you got to do this one picture at a time. But what I'd be able to do is match the application of take the color things that I did to this picture and match it to this picture. So I could pull what I did on picture one and bring it into picture two and kind of match the color and everything else, the color distribution and everything else. Um, how to go about doing that? The unfortunate thing is real unfortunate because I wish they would do it. There's no adjustment layer for this for color matching because I wish it would be an adjustment layer. Also, if I protect the layer, so if I convert this to a smart object and then go to image and adjustments and try to do match color, it's grayed out because I can't protect the layer either. So what I have to do is I have to apply it directly to the layer. I can't even if I make a duplicate layer to do the color matching, image, adjustments, match colors available. So I can do it to a duplicate, but it has to be an unprotected duplicate layer. And then when I do this match color, I can take the duplicate layer, unprotected, and apply this match color effect to it. Now, here's the way this works. I'm going to uncheck preview because I don't want you to see it happen before it does. You're coming down here to where it says source, and you're picking your open files. So color fix 4 is the file that I'm applying this to. And then it's going to look for what layer. So which layer am I going after? The merged, all the layers merged together, just the background layer, or a particular layer I created, match. That's the one I want to pull from. And then if I check on preview, you see what it does. It takes what I pulled from the other picture and matches the color, from the previous picture using that layer. Now, I'm not done with it because I can do a bunch of different things. Number one, neutralize. Up here at the top with these image options. Neutralize will neutralize um, any colors that's in this picture that's not in the other picture. Neutralize will bring those colors back to what they originally were. So sometimes this helps with the balance of weird color aberrations may be happening. Weird color aberrations that may come about. That's what that's for. Usually with the neutralize, you can turn it on and turn it off, see what you get as a result. Fade. This allows you to take fades from the new color changes, which is at 0, to the old picture's colors, to the picture's old colors. And you could fade between the two. So if you still like the other picture, but maybe the new picture is a little too much with the color adjustment, you can kind of fade the two together, kind of blend the two together at a particular point, if you want to. Color intensity. This is almost like saturation where you can increase or decrease the color intensity. Decreasing it is, again, a kind of a stylistic choice, but it's kind of neat with the decrease part, especially with the fade, that you could play around with that. Luminance allows you to brighten the picture up to make it brighter or darken it down to darken it some based on the balance that you have there with the colors. So you could play with these different options here to make the picture a little bit better than what it was using these new color mappings with the color match to get a better picture than what you started with. So this is what I had before. This is what I got now, and you can see how it kind of works its way through. And you do this on every one of the pictures. So each one of the pictures one at a time. Now, is this the best thing to do? No, a lot of times this is kind of your starting point. but allows you to get, a different picture from what you originally had, and kind of get a different, color match. Now, where this works perfectly is, again, same pictures. Like in a photo shoot, you're doing a photo shoot, you got the same lighting source, you're shooting a whole bunch of pictures, but let's say it's outdoors. You're taking the shots outdoors. You got the lighting and everything works fine, but then it's like an hour later, and the lighting is now a little bit different because the sun has moved. So you can use the match color to take the first pictures and use those to match the second pictures, second set of pictures, to make sure you got the same color value across the board. Remember the little girls? I want to show you something that's weird because I don't know how or why this works some kind the way it does. It's some very cool little alchemy kind of thing going on. But if I take a picture like the girl's picture that I had with all that red color casting going on, duplicate the layer, then go to image, go to adjustments, and go to this color match. Again, I'm gonna uncheck preview so you don't see this. Now, same color fix. This picture is completely different color wise than this picture, but there are colors that match in there, that actually can map out. So what this will do, oh, look at that. Look at the skin. Skin tone mapped out, evened out, colors all over the place, evened out, mapped out. What? I love this match color. For this particular purpose right here, I could take any picture that is balanced in color, like I need it to be. Take any other picture that has an imbalance, a color cast problem, and almost immediately fix the issues. Now you can mess around with these image options. Like I can do the neutralize, so that way it gets, makes your skin tone a little more, red, like it's kind of maybe supposed to be if this was shot, it's sunrise or sunset, like it needed to be. I could play with the fade. I could play with the color intensity, and the luminance there, to, make adjustments and stuff like that. But just out the box as it is, my goodness, look at that. That is just amazing to me when I first, because I did this one time by accident, and I was like, oh, it's gonna do a thing, and it's, and then when it did it, I was like, oh my goodness, look at how it worked, and it was just kind of incredible to me that it just automatically does these things, and it works for almost every picture, that I've done this to. I just find a picture that is matched, and it kind of works out with doing that. It kind of matches out and does a pretty good job. As a matter of fact, let's go to a different picture real quick. Remember this one with the color graph? Let me show you something with this one. With the good old color graph, there's this one layer here called wheel. That's the actual color wheel. That's all the colors, right? So duplicate the layer, same problems, image, adjustments, and match color. And again, I'm gonna turn this off real quick. Go to that color graph, find the wheel layer, and then turn that back on. Look at that. Isn't that just so cool? I don't know about you, but I think this is just such a cool thing that you're able to do. And then you can always, fade it, play with the color intensity, maybe turn that down, play with the luminance, maybe turn that down a touch or two, darken it up a little bit. But you've seen those paintings, right? Those kind of oil or acrylic paintings. This is the start of it. I saw this one day and I was like, oh, this is just so cool. What you could do at this point, with some other things. I can make another. layer of this and do an underpainting filter. I can do another layer of this and remember that oil paint filter that I did and get started on turning this into a painting of some sort. Um, I can take this layer that has the colors like they're supposed to be, maybe change the blend mode to, see, trying to see what works besides color. None of them take really the redness of their skin out. No, I'm gonna pick color. So I have that same, effect, but without all the redness going on. And see how it flattens out a lot of details and everything, but it still keeps the details. And now I can turn that, merge those two layers together, apply an oil paint filter, and or apply that underpainting and then the oil paint filter. There's a possibilities are so endless and they're so cool. Here's another thing, just to bring this up. You can take multiple layers together and you can convert both of them into one smart object. I discovered that. So what just happened, I took those two layers, all right, and put them together into one smart object that I can then, like I just said, I can go and do the whole oil paint. Do that real quick because that's a quick and easy filter to apply. I can apply the oil paint filter to all of this. And then after the oil paint filter, maybe do the underpainting, maybe apply a texture, and I can give mom and dad what looks like an oil painting of their kids. I don't know about you, but that's always kind of a cool thing that you can do. And I'm not really, they'll be like, "Oh, you painted that?" Yeah, sure, I made that. That's how you say it to them. Yeah, I made it. You didn't paint it, but you made it. You created this because this is your doing. And depending on, how you apply these different filters and how creative you get with it, depends on what comes out. And this is where the fun comes in to play here. And it's can get kind of fun, with what you're doing. I did that Gaussian blur real quick and changed the stack order of that in the oil paint so that way the Gaussian blur blurs out again some of the details that you would have like that you would not have in a painting, an actual painting. And this is what I get as the result. Uh, I don't know about you, but I always find stuff to tinker around in Photoshop fascinating because you can do a lot of real fun things and what you're doing and what you're creating. Okay, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else I really need to point out to you. I don't think there is right now. So that's pretty much all the color corrective things that you would do. And everything else is just a bunch of exercises on more of the same that I've just shown you already. So, color correction. It is simple to do. What gets complicated is which technique are you going to use at that given moment to get the result you want. There's a bunch of different techniques. I haven't even shown you all of them. There's a ton of them that you can go and discover on good old YouTube University or looking up, different techniques for color correction because you'll find a bunch of them. There's that Flern website and that Flern YouTube channel that I showed you at the beginning of the course. There's Texture Labs has got a bunch of things in it. Photoshop Training Channel's got a bunch of things. Pix and Perfect's got a bunch of different things. Those are the YouTube channels I would tell you to go and look up. And there's others that you can definitely go find out from different people. Not everybody knows what they know, which means the techniques that they employ and they use is what they prefer, and that's how they're going to show it to you. It's not that that's the only way to do it. So use that knowledge to look at what they're showing you and see how you can apply it to what you're doing. All right. So don't ever think that that's the only way that you can do this or that. There's always more than one way of doing it. So always, take that into consideration.